Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, February 22nd, 2016. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. The people of this country have renewed the ULP government's mandate and again have expressed their confidence in its administration to manage the affairs of SVG. This, according to Governor General Sir Frederick Ballantyne, as he presents the throne speech at the 10th sitting of Parliament at the House of Assembly early this evening for the 2016 budget presentation. In congratulating the government and opposition for obtaining their positions in the House, Sir Frederick commended the ULP administration on being elected for a fourth consecutive term in office, stating that their work is set to continue in 2016 with the articulation of a wide range of priorities spanned over several sectors. Highlighting several policies and projects which the government will seek to venture into this year, such as the Zero Hunger Initiative. Sir Frederick said this reflects the government's commitment to the environment and its quest for sustainable development. The Governor General further gave the assurance that the ULP administration will continue to enhance and develop all sectors of government for the benefit of all Vincentians. Meanwhile, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Dr. Ralph Gonsalves told Parliament that the 2016 budget will not be grounded in any austerity measures, but prudence and enterprise. He said the country is expected to see real economic growth by a modest 1.5% in 2016, and that though the financing of the budget will be challenging, his government expects to further push economic growth with several of its planned programs. The budgetary estimates of revenue and expenditure for 2016 amounts to $912,897,311. We will bring you more on the budget presentation in tomorrow's newscast. Meanwhile, members of the opposition New Democratic Party again boycotted Parliament for the budget presentation. They had done so earlier for the estimates presented on January 29th, 2015. On radio today, leader of the opposition, Annie Eustace, said their members will not participate in the budget debate. He said they are standing with their views despite the threats of legislations to punish them for not being in Parliament, regarding the government as illegitimate, as the December 2015 general elections were not free nor fair. The issue on the Grenadine island of Cain, where residents are seeking access by land and sea to the Goodall Beach, heightened over the weekend. Community activist Terry Bynoe told SVG-TV News via a telephone interview that some residents had planned a picnic to the beach for Sunday, February 21st, and that on a Saturday, he went to the Cain police station to summon a meeting with the police and the head of the security for the nearby resort on how they were going to enter the beach area so that there would be no conflict when they get there on Sunday. Bynoe said the meeting with the resort's head of security and the police was held. However, it ended with him being a bit angry because there were questions put forward that couldn't be answered. He said on Sunday, February 21st, between 11 and 12, a number of residents who were going to the picnic drove up to the entrance of the resort and stopped at the gate, where they were told by the security to park their vehicles in the parking lot as there was a bus to take them down to the beach area. This, he said, they complied with, and the persons who were with him went on to the bus. But when it was his turn to get on, he was told he was not allowed.
I'm not taking you. There is an injunction against you. I say yes. The injunction is for me not to go to your property, which is your house, I believe, a restaurant, or a private lot of land that your house is built on. I am asking to go on the public road to the public beach, and you say you take me. So he get out the bus, I get off, everybody else get off, and so if Terry can go, none of us are going. And then persons who are there say, listen, let's just get down to the gate, we drive our own vehicle. So it ended up becoming a roadblock because we were waiting for them to raise the checkpoint boom. And then after they didn't do so, another vehicle went on to the back entrance of the resort and stopped at that gate as well to see if they would be allowed from that entrance as well. And so the resort was basically blocked off for like 2 hours.
Bynoe said upon reflection, he decided that the blockade should be removed to allow the people who were going to the picnic to go ahead and enjoy themselves. As for him, Bynoe said he got to the Goodall Beach using another bay after hitching a ride on a boat. In reference to the injunction against him, Bynoe noted that it dated back to 2000, at which time residents were also fighting for access to beach area, and that the court granted at the time to the developers an injunction against him pending the hearing of the matter as to whether a road to the beach was public or private. He said the judge, however, left the country 2 weeks later and that the matter was never dealt with.
It's strange that if this matter is sitting in a file and the death of the judges who take over, why have not this matter been called for all these years? I mean, if you see a file and a matter that is to be dealt with, why has it been going under the other files for 16 years? Why it didn't put forward and a summon was given to me to say, Terry, there's a matter and an injunction that will be called on such and such date with you. Why I was not solved, you understand, to go to court on this matter? Why was it being put under all the other files for 16 years? Rather strange to me.
The community activist says it is time that the government and developers sit down with residents to settle the ongoing matter.
All we were hearing in all the press conferences and people who speak on radio is about how much money the people invest in Canoan, and we're asking for calm and leadership, but nobody has come forward to speak with us on this matter to bring some resolution to it. Nobody at all.
Okay.
What we don't want to happen, that is why we need urgent attention to these matters. Because even persons in my role, we're trying to get them involved as well, and maybe as far as Union Island. We don't want to have a situation where the hotel is open and you know, maybe full of guests and we show up by boat for a picnic while they're there. We don't want to do that. We are asking for urgent attention that these matters be resolved by three parties: the government, the people of Canoan, and the investors as well.
The residents of Canoan are expected to meet this Thursday on the Hard Court to select a committee that will represent them in the matter. Head of the Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, has expressed dissatisfaction with the recent court ruling that Section 16 of the collective agreement signed between the Teachers Union and the government offends Section 26(1)(d) of the Constitution, and therefore the union's claim, which seeks redress for 3 of its members, is entirely hopeless. Speaking on Sunday's Hit Talk program, Robinson says that a document by UNESCO and the International Labour Organization, the ILO, which SVG is a member, would have ratified clearly, states that the participation of teachers in social and public life should be encouraged in the interest of the teachers' personal development, of the education service, and of the society as a whole. He adds that it is also outlined in the document that teachers should be free to exercise all civil rights generally enjoyed by all citizens and should be eligible for public office, where the requirements of public office are such that the teacher has to relinquish duties. He should be retained in the profession for seniority and pension purposes and should be able to return to his previous post for or to an equivalent post after his term of office has expired. Robinson says the judgment should not be considered as final and merits an appeal.
Now, St. Vincent and the Grenadines would have ratified conventions related to the right to association, the ILO convention, the right to join a trade union. Convention 87 of 1984 protects the rights of workers to join and to form independent trade unions. Freedom of expression, as also enshrined in the Constitution. And this right is absolute. And the teachers and workers have a right to associate with the trade union as well as to be involved in trade union activities without the interference of the state. As a matter of fact, Convention 87 expressly forbids the state to impose sanctions upon workers for organizing unions. Similarly, this convention also protects the right of the teachers and worker to defend his or her economic and social interests by measures up to and including strike action.
Panelist Harvey Farrell, who is also an educator here, says in his opinion the complexities of the collective agreement does not rest upon legal compunction but on the parties' recognition of the moral responsibilities and the mutual self-interest in good faith.
That
when we sign a collective agreement, we are not expecting to test the terms of the collective agreement in court, although that litigating aspect is part of the collective agreement. But we expect both parties or all parties involved to act in good faith and honor the terms and agreements arrived at in the negotiations. So it comes back to the question, was there an error? And if there was, why wasn't that error seen before we had the signing of the collective agreement?
Former High Court Registrar Tamara Gibson Marks has been disbarred from practicing law in the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the OECS. The judgment was handed down on Thursday, February 18, 2016, by High Court Judge Esco L. Henry and Acting High Court Judge Pauletta Lands of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. The judges ruled that Gibson Marks be struck off the roll of barristers and solicitors after she conducted herself improperly and unprofessionally in the discharge of her professional duty by misappropriating monies held in a trust account amounting to $350,000 with interest. In October 2014, Gibson Marks was fined EC $10,500 after she pleaded guilty to a charge of stealing EC $21,925 and abuse of her authority as Registrar of the High Court. An application to have Gibson Marks disbarred from practicing law was filed by Attorney General Judith Jones Morgan. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, will host a 4-day Strategic Targeting Methodological STM workshop commencing tomorrow. The workshop seeks to identify communities at risk and implement disaster risk reduction interventions and climate change adaptation actions. The workshop is being held in collaboration with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Society, the Red Cross Society, the Caribbean Disaster Management Agency, CDMA, and the Caribbean Disaster Risk Reference Center. The aims of the workshop are to collect and map past and present community resilience actions, to commence the framing of a national community resilience action plan and measurable indicators. It also seeks to initiate the development of a working system for targeting and reporting on community actions among resilience partners and to share the STM tool and process with shareholders. The workshop will begin at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow at NEMO's conference room. A call for greater investments and collaboration between the private sector, farmers and other agricultural stakeholders was made earlier today at the opening ceremony of a workshop on the development of a coconut water and composite flour value chain in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The workshop was hosted by the Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, Caribbean Agriculture Research and Development Institute, CARDI, and the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. Hiko Baman, a value chain specialist at FAO, says the program aims at advancing the agriculture sector through the collaboration of the Ministry of Agriculture, the private sector and other stakeholders using coconut water and composite flour as a training ground. Baman called for greater collaboration between farmers and the private sector to ensure food security and create a livelihood for Vincentians.
So, it's been mentioned, we have this high food import bill. We need to work on food and nutrition security. That's FAO's core mandate. And at the same time, we look at the rural areas and want to increase income and employment. Coconut water and composite flour with the raw materials, which are the nuts and the cassava and the sweet potato, offer an opportunity for farmers to get more income by selling these products. But for that, we need a vibrant private sector. We need processors, we need marketers, and these are not the enemies. These are the people who make business work and who offer the market to farmers. The point is, one has to make them work better, and the terms to the farmers have to be more fair, balanced, fair contracts.
Chief Agricultural Officer Ashley Cain says coconut has always played an important role in agricultural sector as well as the way Vincentians eat and live, and noted that through the use of coconut there is the potential to enhance the livelihood and earning potential of Vincentians.
We can make the kinds of investment that will allow us to have factories Well, I don't think we get back sticky grease where they are at Arnisville there in that compound. But that there be factories and so on towards St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which leverage the fact that we have coconut in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which can provide livelihoods. More importantly, there has to be the replanting and re-establishment of coconuts, and hopefully through this project, Mr. Gums, we may be able to identify some that have higher or improved varieties, which we can introduce as we set about replacing the aging and dying trees with prolific varieties and so on, both for water and for oil, that would be with us for quite some time.
Also speaking at the ceremony was Dr. Gregory Robin, the country representative for Cardi. Said St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been engaged in activities such as the mapping of the coconut production system here, utilizing aerial photography, GPS to overlay the coconut estates. Robin added that there is a coconut industry project taking place across the region, and he is hopeful that the coconut value chain done by the FAO can supplement this new project.
First of all, there's a national stakeholder platform for the coconut industry project. That involves a largely private sector stakeholder platform. It involves coconut water producers, oil producers, crafts producers, and cosmetics. And I think, again, let us see how the coconut water industry chain done by FAO fits into that coconut industry project.
40 small to medium-scale poultry farmers from all agricultural districts will on Tuesday, February 23rd be involved in a one-day workshop on biosecurity. The workshop is being held as a result of the threat of avian influenza or bird flu to the Caribbean region and will be held at the Methodist Church Hall from 9. It is being organized by the Animal Health and Production Division, the AHPD, within the Ministry of Agriculture in collaboration with the Caribbean Animal Health Network, CaribVet, Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture, AICA, Food and Agricultural Organization, the FAO, and the Banana Accompanying Measures, BAM, program. Avian influenza refers to the disease caused by injection with avian influenza or bird flu type viruses. These viruses occur naturally among wild aquatic birds worldwide and can infect domestic poultry and other bird and animal species. A current strain of the avian flu virus known as H5N1 is circulating in many countries in Asia and West Africa. The H5N1 can also cause disease in humans. Between December 2014 and June 2015, a strain of the H5N2 virus appeared in the USA and affected millions of birds. As part of efforts to enhance its services to the Vincentian public, the Central Water and Sewerage Authority, CWSA, continues to implement operational and customer-based initiatives aimed at creating a more efficient water, solid waste, and sewerage authority. Speaking at a recent media conference, General Manager of the CWSA, Garth Saunders, highlighted various projects undertaken by the company, which he says seeks to bring about great benefits to the Vincentian society and the environment.
And then our sewage line from the Kingston, from the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital up to our headquarters here at Montrose, so that we can capture old and new Montrose on our system, so that persons will no longer have to rely solely on septic tanks, and that we are going to improve the environment, the disposal of sewage and septage throughout the area. Water supply to the international airport at Argyle, we are just about 75% complete on that project, and we have been working now for the last year installing pipes to the different areas on the airport, giving them a dedicated supply. And also in the engineering department, we have built another sub-department called a SCADA GIS department, where we have started and we continue to map our systems to be able to have information readily available on where our pipelines are, where we can assist
engineering and customer service in finding our customers and finding where we have leaks and getting to leaks on time and knowing what to do. We also have a system where we can remotely manage our our systems. We can shut them down from a computer, from a smartphone. So that's a new development in CWSA, which we are also very proud of.
In light of the recent weather conditions, Saunders pointed out some of the work being done on the company's major water sources and transmission lines to build resistance to disasters such as flooding.
We have completed the designs for, which we are about to implement, is the Dalloway transmission main replacement. We have, since the December floods in 2013, we have embarked on a program of building resilience and reducing our vulnerability. A lot of our pipelines, as you know, cross the rivers from the mountains as they get down to the developed areas. When there are floods and there are heavy rains, our pipelines are vulnerable and they get washed away. So this project is aimed at reducing our vulnerability by taking the pipelines, by rerouting the pipelines, taking them out of the rivers and bringing them along safer routes, mainly along the roadways. There's also a project that's being designed for a Sandy Bay water supply improvement project. Sandy Bay is an area, one of the few areas left that suffers periodically from high siltation and some muddy water when it rains heavily.
Noting the company's interest in customer service enhancement, the general manager also spoke of plans to launch an e-billing service.
That allows you to go online and see your bill. And at any point in time, you can know what your bill is, what your current bill is. You can know what your history, your billing history has been for the last 12 months. So we are happy that customers no longer have to come to the CWSA or to call to get their bill balance. They can now access that online. It's one thing to see your bill online, to see the amount owed. Can we pay our bill online? Well, we are not at that stage yet, and we're not sure we're going to get to that stage very soon, but we have internet banking, and we've always had that. So if you are registered for internet banking with Scotiabank, FCIB, National Commercial Bank, and I think RBTT as well, you can access those financial houses.
As the work to control the Aedes aegypti mosquito population continues across St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Senior Environmental Officer Todd Lewis said with health being a shared responsibility, the ministry's collaboration with various stakeholders signifies a collective movement in tackling not only the Zika virus but other environmental problems.
What we seek to do in this committee that was formed in light of everything that is taking place within the region with Zika, there was a committee set up with different stakeholders. I mentioned CWSA and BRAXA, but on that committee as well as the police, the Ministry of Tourism, the Tourism Authority, the Ministry of Education. So what we're doing is, apart from the normal house-to-house inspection, in which was very much intensified within the process, is that we now have these other stakeholders on board to effectively help us within our campaign, within the fight against Zika.
Commenting on the effectiveness of partnership, Lewis noted that it plays a role in ensuring that accurate decisions are made and that objectives are followed. He also spoke of the work of BRAXA as it relates to the issue of drainage during the nationwide cleanup campaign.
We have identified several rivers and streams across St. Vincent and the Grenadines in which we recognize that is a problem and needs to be addressed. So we started in Georgetown, in which some were cleared, and now it's now to get all the other information together. Those that is a major problem, especially within certain rural communities and across St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and now get them cleared. There are some rivers that are not free-flowing. However, those rivers or streams contain fishes, in which the fishes now play the part in getting rid of the larvae for the mosquitoes. So those rivers and streams that we have identified as sustainable in terms of fishes and so on, being there in the river, we would decide not to clear them, because we now have to strike a balance, an ecological balance as well for the habitats living there.
The police are investigating a fatal accident over the weekend which involved motor vehicle P3360, owned by Aika Samuel of Mesopotamia and driven by Jamal Joe, 21-year-old laborer of Bayabu, which occurred at 11:10 p.m. at Peruvian Vale on Saturday. The motor vehicle ran off the road and went over an embankment. The driver succumbed to his injuries. Romasia Sutherland, who was a passenger, received minor injuries and was treated and discharged at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. Antoine Anthony, a resident of Clare Valley, has been committed to face a judge and jury at the next practical sitting of the criminal session on 5 separate charges, one of which being causing the death of Edgar Cruikshank of Kittels by driving his vehicle dangerously. The other charges include failing to renew his driver's permit, driving an uninsured vehicle, among other charges, on December 6, 2014 at the Clare Valley Public Road. Cruikshank is said to have succumbed to death after he was struck by the said vehicle on the date in question. He was at the time attending a political rally in the area when the incident occurred. The order was given by Chief Magistrate Rachel Brown at the conclusion of a preliminary inquiry which looked into the circumstances which caused Cruikshank's death. And Medford Cain, a joiner from Great House, Lomans Hill, who was indicted on a charge of murder of Katisha Bess of the same address between June 28th and July 2nd, 2015, was also ordered to stand trial before a judge and jury at the next practical sitting of the criminal session. The order was made earlier today by Chief Magistrate Rachel Brown at the conclusion of a preliminary investigation to determine whether a case was made out for him to stand trial in the High Court. According to reports, Best, who was discovered 2 days after being reported missing, sustained a blunt trauma to the forehead.